who understands the political history of Nigeria will not attempt to tamper with the people's choice in the coming Ekiti state elections. The Ekiti people have a high sense of political consciousness, and so he who has ears, let him hear. So says my host today on 60 Minutes with Angela. Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. Now, the road to the June 21, 2014 elections in the southwest state of Ekiti. My host today says the ride may be bumpy and the signs are beginning to appear. He has been covering politics since 1986. His column every Sunday in the Nation newspapers is a must-read for political watchers. Graduating with a degree in political science in 1984 from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in the southeast region of Nigeria, and following that up with the training as a journalist in 1992 at the Thomson Foundation in Cardiff, the United Kingdom. He joined the Nation newspapers in 2008 as group political editor. He had been the former deputy political editor with the Vanguard newspapers. He is one of the 4 Nigerian journalists to cover the Liberian Civil War, 2 of whom were killed by the government of Charles Taylor. An author of about 4 books, one of which is based on his experiences during the Liberian Civil War, that he wrote in 1989, titled Doe, The Liberian Tragedy. He's also the author of The Nigerian Political Turf, Polity, Politics, and Politicians. So join me after the break. I'm counting down 60 minutes with Bolade Omonijo, a columnist with the Nation newspapers here in Nigeria. Welcome back. Welcome, Mr. Omonijo. Thank you very much for coming on the program with me today.
It's my pleasure to be here. I enjoy listening to your program and watching you.
Thank you very much. Well, let's start from here. I've been following your analysis of the forthcoming elections in Ekiti State. I've been able to break down your arguments into different stages. So we'll start off with the statement that you made, that the road to that election may be bumpy. And the first point you make is about the role of the Independent Electoral Commission, especially as regards continuing voters' registration. You say that it's still not a perfect exercise in spite of all the reforms that we've seen with INEC.
I wouldn't have been bothered if the problem is that it's not perfect. Perfection is of God, and we keep striving towards perfection.
Yes.
What I would say is that it's not good at all, from what I've seen.
Yes.
I saw Anambra, I saw Delta, even Edo, even though Oshomole won, but you know the cries and the hues and everything that attended it. I'm not satisfied with what INEC is doing.
You don't think we've moved forward, going forward, we've improved the system?
That's my problem. I thought we had moved forward. I thought with some reforms, some measure of reforms that we had undertaken since 2010, that we should have been seeing results by now. I thought with 2011 being a little of some improvement on 2007, that by now we would have been getting close, to our destination. But unfortunately, the recent elections jolted us. It showed me that we were rather moving backwards. And that's my worry, that's my concern.
Is it enough, therefore, to make one suspicious that you are calling for outsiders to partner with the Ekiti people to assess every move made by the Electoral Commission? Why do you say that?
Well, one, I see Nigeria as an entity.
Yes.
And I see whatever is happening, one corner of Nigeria has been of interest to the entire edifice called Nigeria.
Right.
And that if it went wrong with Anambra, and we do not correct it, then it goes wrong with Ekiti, God forbid, then you could be sure that the same thing will happen with Osun. Before you know it, the country will be on fire. And that's why I say let all Nigerians take interest in what is happening in Ekiti now, so that we don't have excuses thereafter, so that we don't have an electoral commission that comes and says, yes, we got it wrong, but it won't have affected the final outcome.
Yes,
why did we just guess then?
No
substantial. That's not why we put them there. We want to have a result that is credible, that all of us could say this reflects the wishes, the aspirations of the people of Ekiti State.
And what role do you think the Electoral Commission is playing that makes you worried, especially? You have to pinpoint to us. I was in Ekiti and I saw people queuing up, checking their names. I know that there was a process in place to make sure permanent voter cards are issued to people. So what exactly are you complaining about that process?
I'm looking at things generally.
Right.
I'm saying that there are precedences to this, that we didn't just arrive at Ekiti.
Yes.
That there was a process that led there, and that there are steps laid out in the Electoral Act to be taken, and timelines attached to them.
Yes.
And I'm saying we must be vigilant. And I'm saying that because we were not sufficiently vigilant, a lot went wrong with Anambra.
Yes.
And we should not repeat the same problem. And I'm saying all of us who are stakeholders, whether you are an analyst, you are an observer, or you are just a human rights man, or you are the common man, if you like, if you use the word common man, all of us should take interest now. When the Electoral Commission says, okay, we are going to register people, then let's see whether they are doing it according to the law. And if they are not doing it, we should cry out. One thing that happened in Anambra, and it upset me, was that even the political elites there failed the people. I mean, if the electoral register came early enough, they had a duty to check it. And if anything went wrong at any point in time, they ought to have raised the alarm then.
Yes.
So we cannot allow the same thing to happen, because a whole lot is attached to the election in Ekiti.
What is attached to this election in Ekiti? You say that it's a precursor for what will happen in Osun State later.
That's one. But I'm even saying, look, if anybody is sufficiently educated about Nigerian political history, you know that if things will go wrong, they start from here. First Republic, Second Republic.
Yes.
And so even Third Republic, so-called Third Republic, it was the same thing.
Yes.
The Nadeko struggle was here. The June 12 struggle was there. So the way things are going, if they get it wrong in Ekiti, you may see an uprising. You may see the people saying, we cannot accept an imposter in this state, whoever that may be.
Yes.
The important thing is the popular will.
Of the people.
Of the people.
Yes.
The will of the people is the sovereign. The people are sovereign.
Okay. But you also raised a very salient point. You said that both the APC and the president are not taking this Ekiti election lightly. Why is so much importance attached to a state which, in my opinion, is 35th on the ladder of revenue earned from the Federation out of 36 states?
I think the major issue is the timing of the election.
Right.
It could have been Ogun, it could have been Oyo or any, but it's Ekiti that is coming first in this set of elections. And next year you will have elections in other states and all that. And like I was saying, the Southwest has been very crucial. What happens in the Southwest tends to set the tone for things. And in the First Republic, the NPC federal government was desperate. It wanted to have a foothold in the West.
Yes.
And without getting the people on their side, they tried to find a shortcut through the NNDP. And they imposed a government on the people of the West. Yes. And the people rose and said, we never voted Demo in the West. And that was the end of that republic. In the Second Republic, the same thing was done. We saw what happened in Ondo State.
Yes.
Ekiti was part of Ondo then. Despite the fact that Akiomoboro is from Ijero and other, the people of Ekiti said, look, we did not vote Akiomoboro, we didn't vote NPN. We voted UPN.
Yes.
So we will not take this. So when they had their ways in other places like Anambra and Co., they could not have their way here. The people rose. And in 3 short months, that imposed edifice crumbled.
Yes.
The government of NPN could not last. In the Third Republic, MQ Abiola won.
Yes.
He was from here. He had solid support from here. The military government annulled the election. And the people said no, because this man had votes from the east, from the north, from the west.
Yes.
Everywhere in Nigeria.
Yes.
And for the first time, it's supposed to be an election that will unite us, that will bring us all together. But the military had its own agenda. Mr. Babangida had a hidden agenda. So he came down hard and said, no, you couldn't. So the man who was supposed to be the hero, who was supposed to be the beneficiary, who was the choice of the people, ended up in prison.
Yes.
So the people said no. And for as long as that pretender to the rule continued in power, there was no respect for Nigeria.
Okay.
So that's why one is concerned about this, that Ekiti is coming up now. If you get it wrong and the people of Ekiti rise to say, look, this is not the direction we are going.
Yes.
It will affect Oshowit is coming next, and then it might spread to other parts of the West. And if you are not careful, the same thing that happened to the previous ones will happen.
Yes.
Nobody is praying for it. Yes. I don't want it. That's why we are sounding the note of warning. That's why we are crying out now.
But the parties seem to have decided on candidates.
Yes.
So, I mean, we can say if there's going to be a popular will, at least among the people of a certain party, know who their candidates will be. So let's look at the choice of candidates now. You gave the APC a clear advantage in spite of the fact that precedence shows that no governor of Ekiti State has ruled for 2 terms.
History records are meant to be broken. So I'm just reading the way things are at the moment.
Yes.
Things have never really been the same. You never had Ekiti until 1996 as a state.
Yes.
So the first election you had was in 1999. The next election was 2003.
Yes.
And Otunbani Adebayo, who had been elected on the platform of the AD, was said to have lost the election. But that was a different setting, different scenario altogether.
Yes.
Because one, the AD played into the hands of the PDP federal government.
How did they do that?
Fine. The AD never had a presidential candidate. The presidential candidate is supposed to be the anchor man. And you were now mobilizing for the candidate of PDP. It was naivety. On the one hand, you are saying that PDP is not good enough.
Yes, but
don't vote for PDP, but you are rooting for their president.
Yes.
So what do you do with that? Number 2 was the perception of people as to the performance of the first governor of this first elected governor of that state at that moment. Yeah. So a whole lot of things went wrong at that point.
But some people would accuse you that, after all, at the launch of your book, the Nigerian political turf, politics and politicians, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, the APC candidate, was guest speaker at your book launch.
Yes, he was. I'm not denying that.
Yes.
I'm not even denying the fact that he's my friend too.
Yes.
I have friends across the political spectrum, even in the Ekiti State. Prince Adaidayo Adeyeye, for example, is like an elder brother. We've worked together before.
Okay, one of the contenders in
the PDP.
Yeah.
Dr. Yembamidele, Honorable, is not my enemy either. So I know people across board. You couldn't have been doing this for about 26, 28 years without having friends.
Yes.
Yeah, thank God Dr. Fayemi was guest speaker. He wasn't chief launcher. He was guest speaker. He's known to be a cerebral person. Yes. And I wanted somebody who could speak to the topic. I had a committee. We sat together and we identified him as the most suitable person for that role. Yes. It doesn't in any way taint my opinion. Yes. It wouldn't, because at the end of the day, if you give an opinion that is totally contrary to what you observed on the field, you lose your own credibility. Yes. And I'm not willing to lose my credibility for anybody at this point.
Okay, but so how then did you come to assert that Dr. Fayemi has a clear advantage?
If you read my articles all through the 2 parts,
yes,
you will find out that, yes, I said he has a clear advantage, but I also said there are so many factors. I was talking about factors, actors, and facts about the Ekiti election. Right. There are a number of factors. I mean, my own reading, my own study, my own understanding of politics in Nigeria shows that there are many things, a number of things. Yes. In some cases, the more you look, the less you see. And you need to point out all those things. Yes. Now, the Electoral Commission is there. How well is it ready to play its own role? It is a factor. The security agencies, the people themselves, how ready are they to assert themselves? Then the political parties, you look at their standing. Yes. You can have a good candidate on a weak structure. Right. And that is a problem. Right. You could have a strong structure and you have a poor candidate, and the people rise up and reject that candidate. It's when you take all these composite factors into consideration that you are now saying, okay, this one has a clear advantage. I also pointed out that you cannot totally dismiss the PDP, that the PDP is a factor in Ekiti politics.
How is it a factor in Ekiti politics?
It's a factor in Ekiti politics because one way or the other, in 2007, it was a major contender for power. It went to court over 3 years plus.
Yes.
And the acclaimed stolen mandate, the court said so, was retrieved and given to Dr. Kayode Fáyemí of the ACN then. Yes. But even if you look at the rerun, you see that there was some form of balance at that point in time. So it is clearly a factor. The mere fact that in 2003, it also produced the governor of the state shows that you cannot dismiss it.
Right.
And most importantly, too, we must not dismiss the fact that the PDP controls the federal government of Nigeria.
And the federal government, according to you, is interested in nabbing Ekiti State from the APC.
It's not just interested, it's desperate.
Desperate.
It's desperate to take over Ekiti. Because if they manage to win in Ekiti,
yes,
it's a signpost that, well, they can now boast and say, look, I mean, these people just got their mandate from court.
Yes.
The people never gave them the mandate. And then they can, with that, go to Osun and perfect
make
the act.
Inroads
exactly.
into the Southwest.
And Southwest is critical to the coming election in 2015.
You've talked about PDP. The president also belongs to PDP.
Exactly.
And you say the Southwest is critical. Now, in fueling that ambition to get Ekiti State, has the PDP done well in appointing Ayodele Fayose as its candidate out of 26 hopefuls, strong candidates there? Yes. Senator Gbenga Aluko of the PDP, also Biodun Aluko, a former deputy governor. Yes. You have Prince Adeyeye,
is also
you
there.
know, so there's strong contenders there. 26 were narrowed down, and finally the choice of Ayodele Fayose. The headlines are saying from some of these strong PDP contenders that if PDP is serious about winning Ekiti State elections, they don't have the right candidate.
My view on Ayodele Fayose, it's always been that of an unfortunate choice for Ekiti, generally speaking, whether in 2003 or in 2014.
Why is he a wrong choice?
I think Ekiti people have the right values. They cherish knowledge. It's the knowledge industry of the country. You know. And I felt somebody who could represent that and who could present that to the world would be the better choice. You
mean academic qualification, be a professor?
You don't need to be a professor to be polished.
Right.
Nobody will say that the first elected governor of the state, Otobani Adebayo, was not polished or is not polished.
Yes.
No, so he is not an academic in that sense. He's a lawyer, yes. No. So that's not what one means. It's just a question of the character that shows. That's my own view. In politics, that is not all that counts. The procedure and the process that led to the choice of Fayose is the other matter. The PDP in Ekiti felt everything was skewed in favor of Fayose.
But isn't that how all the parties are at the end of the day? There's always a favored candidate, and you know, and he flexes his muscle, you know, to make sure that his favoritism is not misplaced.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. But in some cases, even where it appears that those who think they own the party, I'm talking of any of the parties now, those who think they own the parties, wink in a particular direction.
Yes.
Even where that happens, if that person is acceptable generally, there will just be some little noise, and then everything begins to run. In Ekiti, it doesn't appear to be the same thing. If you look at some of these people, if you look at the performance and the rule of Fayose the first time he was there, how did it end? How did it go? At a point, there was total and utter confusion. There was chaos, almost anarchy. It led to the imposition of a state of emergency in the state. At a point, we had about 3 governors in the state at the same time.
Yes.
At a point, you did not know who was deputy governor. even the chief judge, even the judiciary.
Yes.
The same thing happens to them. In the legislature, all the arms of government. Now, that is why I said I will not dismiss Mr. Ayodele Fayose in the forthcoming election, except that the PDP now has a crisis in hand. It has to be able to resolve the crisis and reconcile the contending factions.
Right.
And to me, it appears irreconcilable at the moment.
At this time. All right. So join us again after the break. Perhaps no one has ever done 2 terms in Ekiti State. True. Because they've never performed, and the people have never wanted them back, because they haven't performed.
I don't even think the question has arisen before in Ekiti. Let's look at the record. Only one governor has ever completed a 4-year term in Ekiti. Otumbani Adebayo. So you cannot base an assertion on a conjecture. You must base your assertion on evidence that you can clearly demonstrate as true. Governor Lumilua, the only Ekiti man that we had who was governor in Ondo State, the old Ondo State at the time, did not even have the opportunity to finish the 4-year term. Remember, this was 93. He only spent 2 years in office, less than 2 years, before General Abacha came in November 1993 to take the government by force. And then, under this dispensation, 1999 to 2013, there's been no basis for it. So how can you argue that nobody has ever done something when there has been no basis to put forward such an argument?
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Jetumobi. On my hot seat today, Bolade Omonijo from the Nation newspaper. So we're staying on the PDP now. You say that it's irreconcilable. This is a party that prides itself on being able to settle differences as a family. So if the president urges those who are disenchanted with the way that Mr. Fayose has emerged, are you sure they will not queue up behind him for the sake of capturing Ekiti State as a forerunner to better things to come?
I can't see evidence that they've always succeeded in reconciling the factions in the PDP. I cannot see that. In Rivers State, for example, you had the crisis between Peter Odili and Amechi, and it was not reconcilable over the years until Amechi had to opt out of PDP in recent times. Silva and Dixon in Bayelsa State, they've not been reconciled. Echocho and Wada in Kogi State, they've not been reconciled. Alawa Akala and Folari and Co in Oyo State, where is the evidence of the reconciliation?
So it doesn't look good for the PDP, according to you, with that choice. But I would say to you that Mr. Fayose prides himself on being a grassroots man. He said to me in a previous interview that when he drives around Ekiti, they're hailing him, Oshokomole. The ordinary man on the streets seems like they still want Fayose in that state. In
the first instance that they hail him does not mean they will vote for him. That's number one, maybe. I agree that there has some common touch to him. I wouldn't deny that.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean everybody who hails him wants him to be the governor.
Yes.
In any case, let's look at it this way.
Yes.
In 2003, he was elected. By 2007, the state nearly disintegrated, if you like. Then, after that, he attempted to go to the Senate. How did it end? If he had such a common touch, and you are talking of a senatorial district that is smaller than the entire state, so where did it lead him? It means he has lost some of that ground he thought he had gained.
Yes.
The people have moved on from that point where they could have Fayose as their governor.
Who, in your opinion, among those contenders from the PDP would have given Dr. Fayemi a good run for his money?
That's a difficult one. It's a very difficult one to say.
I mean, there are about 4 strong names that people,
I know the names.
People mention.
Yes.
They
mentioned Biodun Aluko,
yes.
Mentioned Dayo Adeyeye,
Gbenga Aluko,
and all that. Gbenga Aluko, I even believe he had totally faded from politics. Whatever he wants this time around, I don't know. I don't think he's a factor in the Ekiti PDP at all. I know...
Even despite being a senator?
He was a senator when? 4 years is a very long time. I talk of 8 years after.
Yes.
It's a long time when the people have moved. No, he was a senator in 1999 when the state was just setting up. And at that time, a number of people would tell you that he became a senator because of the father, Professor Sam Aluko, who was alive then and who had served the people. And they felt that they were just paying back the father, who was alive then. And you remember that he contested against my good brother, Prince Adeyeye then. Adeyeye was the AD candidate for that senatorial district then. And he was the only one who lost in the entire West. The AD won all the other 17 senatorial districts. But he lost. And in the same senatorial district, you had the federal constituencies, the AD won. In the same senatorial district, you had houses of assembly seats, the AD won. It was only in the senatorial election that they opted for a different person. And they opted for Gbenga Aluko, not in his own capacity, not as Gbenga Aluko, but as the son of Professor Sam Aluko. Professor Sam Aluko is out of the picture now.
So, all right, so then let's move on to the Labour Party. It has a sole candidate, Okweyemi Bamidele, a member of the House of Representatives. He prides himself on the fact that he is the greatest rival with Dr. Fayemi. In fact, if not for circumstances, he should be contesting on the seat of the APC. Do you think he made a wrong move by moving to the Labour Party?
I think unless some other factors conspire in his favor some other time, I think he has destroyed his political career.
Really?
That's my view. The Labour Party does not exist in Ekiti State.
Well, it didn't exist in Ondo State. And look at what Dr. Mimiko has done with it.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. It does not exist in Ekiti State. Yes, it didn't exist really in Ondo State. Dr. Mimiko came on and took charge and was able to defeat the PDP in that state. Dr. Mimiko became a symbol of the opposition to the Agagu administration. It was not just Mimiko of Labour Party. It was Mimiko of a coalition of forces against the Agagu administration. That's number one. Number two, I have done a study of elections in Nigeria. If you look at any state where the opposition had managed to win somewhat, there must have been a major crack in the ruling party.
And we don't have a major crack in the APC in Ekiti State? No,
that's what I mean. If you looked at Nasarawa also, where or Kano, you will see that there is a major crack, and even some members of the executive, some members of the legislature left the party because they were disenchanted or dissatisfied.
Okay, so Okweyemi Bamidele is leaving the party. Can't we say that was a major crack? He left with some of his supporters.
Who are the supporters? Who are the prominent people? Who are they? The party is fought on the basis of levels of structure that you have. Look, in Nigeria generally and in Ekiti State, you have Dr. Kayode Fayemi as the governor. He has commissioners from all the local government areas. There are members of the state legislature from from local government areas. All the chairmen of the local governments belong to his party. All these people are commanders of their various sectors.
As far as elections are concerned.
Generally in Nigeria. Generally. So, how many of them felt persuaded by the Okweyemi move and left with them? How many commissioners have left the government? How many members of the House of Assembly felt persuaded? How many members of the House of Reps, where he is from Ekiti State, are with him? It is not flying. I mean, my own reading is that he can't even be second. It will be a poor third in the running.
Okay, so as I've asked Dr. Fayemi as well, I will ask you, what do you think prompted him to leave the state? I asked Dr. Fayemi, did you promise Mr. Bamidele at any time that, look, my brother, let me do 1 term and then you will come in? Because he's standing on something and we just don't know what it is. What makes him so sure that the people want change and they want him as the change?
You see, the problem is reading the political map.
Right.
Is having a very good reading of the radar. I think at a point in time, Honorable Bamidele thought that he would make some very good move. That even within the APC, he would likely, defeat Dr. Kayode Fayemi to the tickets.
Yes.
It was naivety.
Maybe the leadership of the party, were they winking and nudging him in a certain direction, and maybe along the way they changed their mind about...
I don't think the leadership of the party will be that naive.
Yes.
Even if they were not, and I'm not suggesting they were not,
Yes.
even if they were not satisfied with Dr. Fayemi, even if they were not,
Yes.
and I'm not suggesting that they were not in any way.
Yes.
Because you don't throw away the incumbent. Even in settled democracies,
Yes.
there are certain things it's his to reject. It's for the person to say, look, I'm not running. If the incumbent is interested and he wants to run,
Yes.
you'll be inviting chaos when you look in a different direction.
It looks bad for the party.
Oh, very bad for the party. The party leaders, there is some form of conspiracy. There's something that binds them together.
Yes.
And they know that, look, it's not the way to travel. Because the only occasion I can understand where a party snatched the ticket from somebody,
Yes.
from the incumbent, and gave it to an outsider, in
Yes.
quotes, was in Anambra State in 2003,
Yeah.
where the PDP took the ticket from Mbadinuju.
Yes.
And it was because totally he had lost control of the state, and that was clear. Everybody, there was the issue of murder of the Igwes, there was the issue of non-performance, there was strike action by teachers for 13 months.
Yes.
I mean, those were some of the things.
Yes.
That's the only occasion I can remember where you could safely take the ticket from the incumbent. And even at that,
Yes.
it hurt them. Yes, they managed to use the influence of the incumbency factor at the federal level,
Yes.
to bring in Dr. Ngige then as winner of 2003, but eventually it was retrieved and given to Peter Obi
Yes.
of APGA. If the party had been together, if the incumbent had been the candidate, it probably would have been a different thing. It's almost impossible to expect that the leaders of APC will wink in the direction of Honorable Bamidele,
Yes.
go and contest, go and try. We will dump the... you don't do that.
But the interesting thing that I note is Mr. Bamidele had earlier complained that it didn't look like there were going to be free and fair primaries within the APC for him to be able to realize his ambition. But it looks now like the Labour Party isn't holding primaries either. It looks like there is only one candidate.
You see, I even see the argument as self-serving.
Yes.
Because Mr. Bamidele holds a grudge because he felt he ought to have been the senatorial candidate in the last election, and that they did not give
in place of Senator Ojodu.
Oh, in place of Senator Ojodu.
Right.
He felt that the party leadership rigged it in favor of Senator Ojodu. That's his main grounds.
Right.
But I see it as hypocritical. And why?
Why?
Because primaries had been concluded, and somebody else was to go to the House of Reps.
Yes.
The party leaders had to take the ticket from somebody and give him. Was that fair enough? Where's the fairness? Why did he reject it?
Yes.
Why did he say, no, I can't deprive a person? He took it then. Now, and like you said, he's gone into Labour Party. He was promised the ticket before he entered the party. And in any case, as a person, I'm disappointed at the Labour Party. I've written about it before too.
Yes.
Labour
Why are
Party
you
generally,
disappointed?
not just Ekiti State. Labour Party appears to be a party of flotsams and jetsams, all sorts. And why am I saying so? You could say that the same thing applies to the other parties.
Yes.
That people keep jumping from one party
When
to the
you're
other.
dissatisfied here, you move.
You move to the other. That's a problem. I agree. But I personally, I know the ideology that the Labour Party is supposed to represent anywhere in the world. It's supposed to be a party that has a clear direction.
Yes.
That is not just sold on holding office.
Yes.
If it takes 20 years to get there, so be it. But let the people know what to stand for. That's what I thought.
Yes.
But here, when you see people who are rejected by their parties hopping on that structure, it shows that there's no difference, really.
Yes. So, do you think that Ondo State being bang beside Ekiti State, the governor of Ondo State, the Labour Party governor, will have any role to play if Opeyemi Bamidele is to emerge as governor?
I think that was the initial calculation. I thought Mr. Bamidele himself was banking on that, on support from Ondo State,
yes.
Also probably support even from the PDP at the national level. You will know that.
What is this support? You know, everyone talks about the fact that because the president probably will seek election, so whichever party is in any state that can help to fuel that, he will support. And so we have everyone who goes into any party, you know, everyone implying that he may have support from the federal level.
Because we have seen it.
We don't know for sure.
We have seen it. In the Ondo State election that you spoke about, the last one, not the initial one.
Yes.
The last election in Ondo State, the federal government, including the PDP at the federal level, literally disowned their own candidate in Ondo State and backed the Labour Party candidate. Even when the man said, I was shortchanged, I'm going to the tribunal, the PDP at the federal level said, you're on your own, we're not with you on this.
So how do we know that?
And in Anambra State,
yes,
too, it was the same thing in the governorship election.
Yes.
No? So we've seen it. It's not new.
So how do we know from this analogy that, you know, the national level hasn't nudged Opeyemi Bamidele in a certain direction, saying, look, we will back you. No. We won't even back our own candidate.
No, that's what I was saying initially.
Yes.
That, I think, it's one of the things he probably expected will happen. That Governor Mimiko will support him, that the federal government will back him up, yes, that the president will probably,
see him as
a viable
yes,
alternative.
Yes.
But it doesn't appear to be happening now because I don't think that his candidacy is flying. I don't think the Labour Party is catching on. Yes. I don't think the Labour Party is going to stand in a better position, than the PDP itself. And so why would the PDP federal back a weaker structure, yes, against its own?
You think Fayose has a better chance in this election than Opeyemi Bamidele?
Oh, I would be very surprised if Opeyemi Bamidele comes second.
Really?
I would be very, very surprised. I'm not ruling out anything in politics.
Yes.
You don't rule out anything totally.
Yes.
But I would be very, very surprised. I think Fayose or whoever could even have been the candidate of PDP would have done better than Bamidele. The plan did not work, obviously.
Join us again after the break.
Who knows abi better thing? Abi who no like better thing? All these fine things wey dey see so. Na money government dey take do am now. Abi, it's like, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. Have you pay your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Bolade Omonijo. Now, Mr. Omonijo, let's look at the APC. That's the party you give a clear advantage. I confess that I have also interviewed Governor Fayemi 3 or 4 times. In fact, I've interviewed his wife, and I asked her why she thought Ekiti people should vote for her husband. And she said,
because he promised and he delivered. Big time. All the things he has done are verifiable. You've heard of the social security scheme for our elderly citizens. We have one of the highest life expectancies in the country. He promised the people of Ekiti that I'll be the governor of all. Yes. And that's what he has been. He's been the governor to our elderly citizens who have been benefiting from the social security. Mm-hmm. He has been a governor to all our children who are beneficiaries of free education. He's been the governor to all the women he has protected through the various policies and legislations. Yes. He's been the governor to all our teachers and civil servants and workers who have benefited immensely from this administration. Yes. And he has been a governor to the ordinary woman on the street who has been laboring for years, trying to send her child to the university. Yes. And here we have a governor who has not only slashed the tuition fees in universities, but has made university in the state university into a first-class institution in this state. So for those reasons and many, many more, the people of Ekiti State will vote for my husband again.
Why do you think he should actually be contesting for a second term?
The only reason anybody should contest for a second term, anybody whatsoever, is that he has something to offer. Is that he has done well with the first one. I don't believe in the philosophy you had in Edo State, where somebody said, if you fail, you repeat. And that's not my own. I don't accept that. Yes. But I think if you have done well, then you should be rewarded with the second time to do better for the people. Yes. Because I believe governance is for the people. I believe it's not for the individual. It's not for the individual, it's for the people.
So, two reactions. First of all, the candidate of the PDP, Ayo Fayose, says, and I'm quoting him now, I brought Fayemi into government in 2010 and I'm more determined than ever to return him to where he belongs, end of quote. I don't know where he belongs, but do you think Fayose can shift Fayemi?
In the first instance, I don't accept the premise that he brought him into power. Right. I don't believe that. I don't accept that. They never belong to the same tendency. I don't know how he could have brought him. And these are people who represent different values from my own reading. Yes. So I don't know how Fayose could say he brought a Fayemi into government. Yes. Fayemi had been known in Nigerian activist and political settings long before Fayose happened on the scene. So he couldn't be introducing him, he couldn't be bringing him, he couldn't be installing him. No. So he's not in a position, he was disgraced out of power. And that's a fact that anybody should note. So dislodging him. Yes. And like I said, a whole lot has changed in Ekiti State between 2007 when he left power and now.
Do you think the PDP will listen to the voices of those contenders who are complaining that Fayose is the wrong choice and change the candidate for June 21?
I doubt it. The worst that the PDP can do is hold another primary, because that primary was boycotted. Right. But if they hold another primary, Mr. Fayose will win again.
Why do you say he will win again?
At the point where they elected the state executive committee of the party, and Fayose gained the upper hand. Yes. He had already won the primary.
Okay. At that stage?
At that stage. The next stage after that was to elect the delegates. That executive committee supervised the process that led to the emergence of the delegates. The delegates voted. Yes. At the state congress.
So doesn't that tell us something about his political sagacity? For instance, if we're saying all these big names are in PDP, but how did they let this slip by for Ayo Fayose to gain control of the party and eventually become the candidate?
Well, in his party, they might have been naive. That's intra-party. Yes. The election is inter-party. The election is popular election. Right. The election is by the general electorate. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. Yeah. It is not even difficult. Even if that were not the situation, even if he had not seized control of the state structure of the party, It's not even too difficult, as we have seen in some states,
Yes.
that somebody who has the money buys out the delegates.
Yes.
You can't buy out the entire electorate. It's a little different when it comes to the general election.
Yes.
What you could have in general election is to have the security men, you know, try to terrorize people, frighten them, you allow for some snatching of some ballot boxes,
Yes.
allow for some stuffing of the ballots and all that. That's what you could have. Not that somebody buys out the entire, the others are not sleeping.
Okay. And papers are also reporting that Mr. Bamidele has said that Governor Fayemi is only seeking a second term to continue to loot. He cites the cost of one of the roads, he says, has almost doubled in price that the Fayemi administration is doing. So what, in your opinion, do you think will be the determining factors for who will emerge as governor of Ekiti State come June 21?
I believe that in Ekiti State, that the administration of Dr. Kayode Fayemi has touched the lives of the people. I mean, compared to previous administrations, compared to existing administrations in Nigeria at the moment, it's transformed quite a number of urban areas and a number of other things. The social security scheme was started in Ekiti State. Certainly, I think that will be a very strong factor. But by no means will it be the only factor.
Right.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
And okay, let's look at the local government areas now. You've talked about Ado Ekiti. I know that's where the former deputy governor, the late Mrs. Olayinka, was from.
And the
current one now, who's running mate of Governor Fayemi. Governor Fayemi himself is from Ishon Ekiti. So how will that work? Of all these 16 local government areas, how will the votes play out, and which areas will really determine who emerges?
I'm still doing a study on the demographics of Ekiti. But one thing I know is that the capital city is very important because of the bulk of votes that come from there.
Right.
I know that.
The most number of votes will be from Ado Ekiti.
From Ado Ekiti. Certainly, if you look at the registered votes, if you look at previous elections, if you look at the population, all those, I mean, give Ado Ekiti the advantage.
So whoever wins Ado Ekiti, is it likely to be the overall winner?
Well, it's not enough, but it's a strong factor. It will help. It will help. And like you said, it's one of the things that we don't know who will be the running mate of Mr. Fayoshe yet.
Yes. And where's Mr. Fayoshe from?
He's from Afao. That's in the Rekodo Fellow local government. It's from the same senatorial district with Ado Ekiti.
Right.
It's not far from Ado Ekiti.
Okay.
The same central senatorial district.
His running mate will have to emerge from
either
the north or the south.
Exactly.
Right. And Mr. Bamidele
is also from the central.
Right. So he too has to look for...
He's from Ekiti.
He has to look for the right running mate to...
For Mr. Bamidele, I make bold to say, and I know a number of people want to crucify one for this, but the elections will bear us out. I think the ambition is dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival?
That's what I think.
But he's in the House of Reps. That should count for something.
That would have counted for something if the setting were right. I've just told you, even in the House of Reps, who are his friends going with him? Who are his associates? Among those who are elected from the central senatorial district, who are in the House of Assembly, how many of them are with him?
What will happen
the local government chairmen and councillors, how many are with him?
What will happen to his House of Reps membership if
of course,
he doesn't go anywhere with this governorship?
That is gone. It goes without saying.
He can't go back to the APC to recontest that seat?
Well, in politics, anything could happen.
No permanent friends.
A whole lot happens in the night. No politicians always meet in the night. They don't meet during the day. So when they are clinking glasses, a lot of things could be settled and possible, but it's very unlikely. I think a number of people felt, in the APC, felt very disappointed at how he has taken the campaign.
Now, you spoke about government action amounting to a campaign, even if indirectly. In other words, Kayode Fayemi has had a head start.
No doubt.
No doubt, you know, because every time you're showcasing what you're doing, it's a subtle campaign.
Exactly.
So can we take visits to traditional rulers and stuff like that to be subtle campaigns? Should INEC be stamping his foot down to stop this subtlety that we're seeing emerge even at the national level?
For as long as it's subtlety, there's nothing the Electoral Commission can do. It can't stop government from functioning.
Right.
You can't stop a president from coming to see the Ooni of Ife and says, I'm paying a courtesy visit on him. You can't stop. Yes, you say it's subtle,
yes,
but you can't prove that. He says, I'm passing by, I came to see the traditional rulers, I'm mobilizing support for Nigeria, building unity.
Yes.
No, do stop that.
And then, of course, no other candidate can do that.
No, no other person could do that.
The incumbent.
Exactly. When a governor says, I'm holding a town hall meeting as governor of the state,
yes,
call the traditional rulers, call political leaders, call community leaders, call them together, hold a town hall meeting, discuss with them subtly. It's campaigning.
Yes.
But you can't say, because campaign must really shout out.
Yes.
For you to
posters
say that,
and
all that, and you say, yes, I've come for APC. But somebody says, yes, we are talking about your water here, we are talking about your road, we have done this one already, but then, I mean, I think your community deserves more.
Yes.
You are campaigning, but you can't stop that.
And on a final note, who do you think, or who would you like to see emerge from the APC as presidential and vice presidential candidates?
I don't want to see anybody, at least not now. The things are still building up.
Right.
The party itself is still in transition.
Okay.
We don't even know the character of the party yet from the way it is coming up. The other time they launched a roadmap, which is quite good, which is interesting. There are a few things you can criticize, but the fact that they came up with this is our position on these issues ahead of an election. I think other parties should also do the same thing. Let them come up with that so that we can see the ideas contending.
Yes.
That's my view. But as to personalities and all that, I don't have an idea. I don't even know what is going on within the party at the moment. I don't know which one is the stronger tendency. You have a very strong PDP tendency with the governors that came into the party, 5 of them.
Yes.
So that's a very strong block within the party. Then you have the ACN block, which is mainly the Southwest, and which is very important in this. And you have the Buhari block, the CPC. So you have all those tendencies playing out.
Yes.
How eventually it will be resolved, and before you now talk of the candidates, we cannot say for now.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Omonijo, for coming on 60 Minutes with me today. And that's it for this week. Don't forget to like 60 Minutes with Angela on Facebook. Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter, Angela at 60 Minutes. I'm Angela Ajetomobi. I thank you for the pleasure of your company.